We're alive. Hi, friends. It's us. It is myself, Joe, and my friend Brooklyn. We are back together for the
Brooklyn
first
King.
time. Yes, the King. I'm sorry, King Brooklyn the Defiant. Who said we don't do kings in this country? We do. We have the most regal king of all. Here he is. What is that? It's like a little, like a honey dipper. What is
It is
that?
my scepter. It also serves as my wackadoo.
Oh, that scepter would look massive in Donald Trump's teeny tiny hands, wouldn't it? Yeah. And here's the thing, like, I'm glad that you came in goofy, because I was just saying to you, we need a little bit of levity. Like, I am writing a Substack today that is not fun. It's about how much I hate him, and I don't want to say that I hate him. I don't want to hate anyone. And then I realized I don't actually hate a person. There's no person in there. I hate everything he embodies, everything he represents,
Yeah.
everything he oozes, right? So, like, I can hate those things. And just because he's the vessel that holds all of those things, and that's where my hate goes. And I don't want that, but I got to name that too. So, like, we need to laugh a little bit, and we had an incredible Saturday of protest
Amazing.
around the world. And I had
Yeah.
Ezra Levin on my podcast last night, and that was so inspirational. And I'm going to keep talking to him, and we're going to keep doing more of this. So I appreciate that you showed up, sort of tongue in cheek today. That we need that.
Well, this was a play off of the No Kings March, but also B. Um, I did a Substack article I posted. When did I post that? I think it was yesterday, and it's
Hmm.
called "The King of Cruelty."
I saw that.
Yeah, thank
Mhm.
you. So it was addressing that whole thing where I'm sure by now you've seen his ridiculous jet dropping poop all over
Oh, yeah.
peaceful protesters. Okay, so when I first saw that, I was like, this can't be real. This can't be
Hmm.
serious. But indeed, it is serious. Not only is it real, not only is it serious, but it is targeted and it is deliberate, right? The juvenile humor is meant for a specific audience. It's not meant for you and me, obviously. We're rolling our eyes until they're stuck in our heads.
Yeah.
It is meant for the mentality of the lowbrow voters on their side, but also it's juvenile because it is targeted at the younger people. It is targeted at 14 and 15-year-olds, the ones who are doing the 6, 7 nonsense, and the
Yeah.
ones who tune into Joe Rogan. It's
Hmm.
targeted at them. Why? Because in 4 years, guess what? They're voting age. They're
Hmm.
voting age.
Yeah.
So there's been a whole dynamic that we've been losing at
Hmm.
for a while, for a very long time, Democrats, because we've been playing by the rules. We've been playing by the old idea that, truth matters, right?
Hmm.
And being um and having morals and values and principles matters. They've thrown that shit by the wayside. They don't care about truth anymore. They don't care about what's real. They don't care about sensitivity or empathy or any of that shit. To
Yeah.
them, cruelty is the point. So dropping shit on a bunch of peaceful protesters, ha ha ha, that's great. It shows strength. You know what? It's not specifically unique to the right. If you notice, when Gavin Newsom started hitting back with Trump's humor, I loved it. A lot of people loved it. And it's not because, it's not because it was lowbrow humor. It was him showing uh, a mirror
Mirror.
image
Yep.
to Trump, but it was the strength of his attacks that people tapped into. It was that confidence. It was that, you know what? I don't care if this comes across as, improper or offensive or what. He didn't care.
Yeah.
And I would say the same thing kind of extends to JB Pritzker. He's kind of got like a muscular kind of, hey, this is Chicago. You come after my Chicagoans, you're coming after me. You're
Yeah.
gonna get a bust in the face. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
know.
Yeah.
so, so overall, my long story short, I'm sorry for that long-winded expo, but long story short is Democrats need to toughen up with our messaging. Um, we can obviously continue punching up. We obviously continue mocking and ridiculing the shit out of Trump and his whole cabinet because they are
Mhm.
ridiculous people.
Yeah.
Um, but we've got to do it and we got to commit to it and not apologize for it. And we've got to be consistent and relentless and ruthless as we've got to meet their relentless ruthlessness with our own.
Agreed. And you and I have long embodied whether or not it was an intentional strategy or whether or not it was just an extension of our voices and our genuine, authentic voices and the way that we communicate with ourselves and others. We've embodied this strategy since we've kind of come onto the scene on social media because it is
Yeah.
who we are. It's how we talk. It's how we meet moments like this. It's how we go at our adversaries. It's how we hold truth to power. And people could argue all day long that it hasn't been a legitimate approach, but or that it's the antithesis of what Michelle Obama said, who was actually revised her own statement about not going low when they do. And I don't agree. And she, like I said, she's revised that statement as well. I
Hmm.
would say that yes, the pig likes it when you get into the mud with them, but the fight's in the mud, okay? Like, the fight's in the mud, and at the end of the
Yeah.
day, when we get out of the mud, we're the ones that have the righteousness on our sides. We're the ones that have the issues on our sides. We're the ones that are in the mud for the right fucking reasons. We're in the
Yeah.
mud because we want to preserve and protect this democracy. We're in the mud because we want a better, fairer world. We're in the mud because we want a First Amendment right to free speech, because we don't want an authoritarian, because we want to say no to tyranny. Like, this is just where the fight is, and you can't keep showing up, to mix my metaphors like I often do. You can't keep showing up to a knife fight, with a fucking abacus. You just can't,
Yeah.
right? It just doesn't work. And what happens is, when you do that, which is what we've seen and what I think is shifting, is that the people on the abacus side of the fight are like, what the fuck? Why are we bringing abacus? Like, that guy, I'm pretty sure that guy has a grenade. It's like brick, it's like brick.
Yeah.
Where did you, like, it's like a grenade? Do you have a grenade? Like a javelin? Like that we're showing up, with a dictionary. And the others, the dictionary people are like, okay, but can the dictionary have, like, poison on it so that if they touch it? But I'll just say also, anecdotally, this is funny because you mentioned this and it's true. My son, who's 16, saw that stupid video, which is stupid and a distraction and an intention to distract, but so much more than that, and it all deserves to be talked about. He heard me listening to Mike Johnson describing that video, when asked about it, as satire, and
Yeah.
Donald Trump using social media better than anyone's ever used social media. And then he used the word satire, which I thought, yeah, Corey, I'm a weird person. Don't even get me started. I have weird thoughts. Yeah, very weird thoughts. And don't even get me started on the Oklahoma Panhandle. You're very right. I'm weirdly specific. But so Leo was not paying attention specifically to what I was listening to, but he heard it, and I guess he was tuned in enough, and he goes, satire. Right. Yeah, that's what that was. 16. And he knew enough from seeing it that that's bullshit, and that they were trying to spin doctor this shit, because even a 16-year-old who is annoyed that he has to listen to me talk about politics a lot, but it seeps in, knew enough to watch that video and go, that's not satire. That's the president of the United States literally shitting on the
Mm.
American people for
Yeah.
exercising their right to free speech and assembly. Like,
Yeah.
this is anybody who looked at that. Mike Johnson knows that. Mike Johnson has actually exposed himself to be one of the most depraved liars I've ever seen. Like, you could talk
Yeah.
about Kevin McCarthy all day long. Mike Johnson, there's something so, like, I don't know what it is. It's like
Unctuous.
unctuous, yes, Weasley. You know what I mean? There's something,
Yeah.
something
Weasley,
almost,
perfect, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and sinister, like sinister, and like, well, first of all,
It's the way he talks in that very calm, very smooth voice as he lies to you in your face. Like,
yeah,
yes, I'm not trying to avoid your question, but I haven't had time to examine the issue of the $230 million that
yeah,
President Trump is trying
money
to get from the Department of Justice. That's insane.
from us.
Yamani Raju asked him
Yeah,
again,
I
second day in
saw.
a row.
Yep,
And he's like, "Oh, I haven't seen it yet." Everything that he doesn't want to address, I haven't seen it. And
yep.
that's in the Republican playbook, for years now.
Oh yeah, that. It's one of the standard, right? So I haven't seen that. I don't have time to be on social media. The president says
Yeah.
a lot of things. That's just Trump being Trump, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm not responsible for, I can't speak for. These are the kinds of things. They no longer have to answer for what they think about anything that he does. It is about whether or not they saw it or whether or not they're the person to be talking about it. If you have questions about what he did, go ask him. I mean, whatever happened to, like, you know what I mean? Taking a stand on something. You can't be wishy-washy on him posting a video of himself, like, dropping shit on the American people. You can't, you have to
Yeah.
have an opinion. And smarmy is exactly the word to describe him. But he is
Yeah.
also this fake evangelical, pious Christian who compared himself to Moses. I have a video about that right now. Could literally compare himself to Moses. What is he doing? He is keeping our Congress shut down. Why? Like, no other reason, guys. There's no other reason than this. The 218th vote on the discharge petition for the Epstein files is
Yeah.
Grijalva. That is the reason Mike Johnson is on vacation again. That's
Yep.
it. And that is a Christian? That's a Christian? The guy who's covering up for pedophiles? I mean,
Mhm.
that's not a question, like, every 10 minutes whenever he goes in front of cameras is just something not that he'll answer straight. He'll say that she can do all of the jobs, she can do all the things she's supposed to do when he doesn't
She
swear
doesn't have
in.
a password. She doesn't have a password for the computer system. She doesn't have access. She does not have an oath to have been sworn in with
Right,
to be officially
right.
representing her constituents.
Yeah, and I think he'll keep us shut down in perpetuity. I honestly do. I don't see anything short of him waiting to maybe somebody dies. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
his number one job is to protect Donald Trump. That's it. It's always been that. I mean, from January 6th to today, that has been his job, is to run cover for the bad deeds of Donald Trump. He has no interest in serving the American people. And friends, that's what you get when you have an uncontested congressional seat. This is why we have to have people running everywhere, because he ran unopposed. And
Yeah.
we can't have that anymore because you get monsters in there.
Yeah. Republicans have completely, they're asleep at the wheel. They've abdicated all authority. They are supposed to be the checks and balances that protect us.
Yeah.
Not sure. Was that?
That's John Fugelsang's book. Somebody in the chat, I didn't, I saw the
Oh,
title,
yeah.
but that's John Fugelsang's book. It's the number one New York Times bestseller. It is so good, guys.
Wow.
Yeah,
Is it number one?
well, maybe it's not number one. I could have misspoken, but it's on the bestseller list. Separation of Church and Hate, guys. Yes, this is how you talk about Mike Johnson. This is how you talk to Mike Johnson. This is how you dissect the bullshit that Mike Johnson tries to put out there by propping himself up as some pious, deity honoring, whatever. He's not. He is the opposite.
I saw, I
And
don't know if you
himself,
saw
yeah,
this, the guy from ABC, I believe his name was Jonathan Carl. I
yeah.
saw him confront Mike Johnson, and he was prepared. And I wish more reporters and journalists would do this. Like, come prepared
Oh yeah.
for their objections, come prepared for their lies, come prepared to, push back on them. Like, I've seen
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin Johnson do that a lot, but he pushed back on Johnson's excuses for why he's not signing in Adelita Grijalva, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't
Uh-uh.
know what to do with himself, and he
Yeah.
just kept pushing, moving the goalposts, moving the goalposts. He didn't have an answer for him.
No, no, and you're right. Like, this is what you have to do with all of them always. I watch these friggin' because he's doing gaggles every chance he has a time to every chance he has to sit down. Donald Trump is summoning like gaggles of reporters and all of his like minions and taint suppers, and it's like so bizarre now because he's just sitting in the middle of it, and he takes questions, but he gives bullshit answers. Like, he just
Yeah.
lies. He talks about inflation going. Inflation, we killed inflation. Inflation's gone, guys. Huzzah! Huzzah! No, it's not. Like,
And
lowering grocery.
somebody asked him about the $17 trillion. Like, come on, man. 17. He keeps saying, we brought in 17 trillion. Where is it, motherfucker?
It's on the tariff shelf. Don't you know it's on the tariff shelf? And like, $1,200% reduction in pharmaceuticals. What? Where is the follow up? Where are the questions
Yeah.
about the 8 10 bazillion wars that he has brokered peace in when we don't even have one in the last place Time magazine gave him credit for. He's on the cover of Time again. This time they corrected course. Oh, you didn't know that? This is worse.
No.
Oh, it's worse. Not only is it a very flattering portrayal.
Oh, they didn't show the neck?
No, it's everything he probably wanted, except that he's not buff. It's not like that. It's not like that NFT
You
version.
were so mad about that.
I was so mad about that. His perfect ear, by the way, like, I mean, I have a chicken pox scar that's worse than his ear. Okay, like,
Yeah.
but no, this Time magazine cover. If you haven't seen it, friends, Lord, oh my God, I think it says Trump's World. I think that's the title on the cover, and then it's like 3 different subtitles about his achievements, and I shit you not, like, I had to, like, look at it and keep scrolling, 'cause it's bad. It's like Time was like, "Oh, shit, we pissed him off with that cover that was also flattering of him in brokering peace because the picture sucked, so now we need a it's like an illustration almost. It's like a piece of art that captures his age, but also, like, something about, like, virility. It's fucked up. But anyway, if you
Yeah.
guys haven't seen it, it's fucked up. But I
We
just
know we know what this fight is right now. I know, sure you know, folks out there, the fight is this, right? Saturday, 7 million people, possibly more, but at least 7 million people showed up in a massive repudiation of Donald Trump and everything that he stands for.
yeah,
All the lies, all the grift, all the corruption that's going on. Every day there's a new example of corruption unfolding. The fascism, the marching our troops into our cities. People are fed up with it. People are fed up with his broken promises about he's going to lower prices. And now, I don't know if you saw yesterday, Fox News was talking about Hamburger Helper
yeah,
suddenly regain. That's not a good flex. That Hamburger Helper, which our family, like when I was little, we were on
yeah,
food stamps. We were poor.
yeah,
Poor. We had Hamburger Helper on the shelves, right?
yeah.
That's not a good flex
No,
of the great economy you guys have been bragging about. So we know that the mission is to take this guy down. And by take him down, I mean with relentless ridicule, with nonstop criticism. He
yeah,
hates it. He had everybody trying to refute the numbers of our crowd.
yeah,
Had everyone trying to question who was in attendance. There's all these Grand Tifa. There was all 70-year-old people, but also there were terrorists there. So make up your mind. Was it old people or was it terrorists?
mhm.
Was it old terrorists? Were they paid? Come on. This is
You didn't get
nonsense.
your check?
I didn't get a check. I've been waiting for a check from George Soros. I wonder what George Soros is thinking. I wish he would one day take an interview from somebody
Yeah,
and like look in the camera and say, ain't nobody get the check from me. Come on, go
yeah.
about your business. Leave my name out your mouth.
Yeah, and it's funny because what we did with what to stretch me in my family, which sounds like a sexual thing that I should probably retract, but nonetheless, it's out there now. But what we did to stretch the dollar at the grocery store was manwich. I don't know if you remember manwich.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
We didn't have a lot
Sloppy
of hamburgers.
Joe's? Wasn't that Sloppy Joe?
So that's what you and I grew up calling it, a sloppy Joe, because like in the Northeast, I think that our understanding of a sloppy Joe was manwich on a hamburger bun. But there's another sandwich called a sloppy Joe, which I think we've talked about this in the past. It's like, I don't know, ham and maybe sour coleslaw. And I don't know, people, if you guys in the chat.
O's.
No, yeah. So there's like that kind of a sloppy Joe, but that's what I grew up calling a sloppy Joe, but other people call it manwich. Right, California manwich. But that's how we stretch. I keep
Now I
saying
want a
stretch
Sloppy Joe.
stretch their meat. But this is the thing. This is the thing about here's how, and I have so many quotes from our event the other night. We did this live event in advance of Saturday that I was so proud to be affiliated with, and it went off so well, and it was a joyous affair. And this is something that like Ezra talks about. Ezra Levin, who's one of the co-founders of Indivisible, which is one of the major organizers of all of these No Kings rallies and protests. And the reason that it is so impressive that over 7+ million people marching in 20 2,700 plus locations around the planet, and there were no arrests. There was no violence. None of us smeared shit on any walls. I didn't
Yeah.
see a pop-up DIY gallows as far as the eye could see. People
Hmm.
were peaceful. They were joyful. And
That's right.
this is what he talks about. He calls it laughtivism. We have a
Yeah.
friend, Eliza Orleans, calls it tactical frivolity. That is important. That is super, super important. And what that does and what that did is it forces them to have to twist themselves into whatever kind of freaking pretzels they need to try to message that this. So what they started with was that it was Hamas. This is what Carolyn
Yeah.
Levitt said.
Yeah.
Domestic terrorists, Hamas, violent criminals, right?
Yeah.
And then she, of course, she said she doesn't use the word. What does she call them? Invaders or whatever. She doesn't use the word undocumented. She uses awful words. I can't even say the words that I can't think of.
Oh,
But
she says illegals.
illegals. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was their original message, right? So that it was going to be violence. There was going to be terrorism, that these people hated America. So then what happens? Not that. So we see unicorns and like,
Twerking frogs.
right, twerking frogs. I had so many people around me who were in Halloween costumes. I have a friend who was a pumpkin. People were dancing to,
Yeah.
disco and Journey, and I saw every animal, and it was like Noah's Ark. So they
It's
didn't get
beautiful.
right, and also, by the way, American flags, lots of American flags, some
Yes.
of which were upside down, not all of which were upside down, but that's your right too. And so
Sure.
then they watch that, and so what do they say? Oh, it's all old people. It's all old white people. Okay, well, hold on a minute. Didn't you 5 minutes ago? Didn't you just say I was Hamas? Didn't you say that it
Hmm.
was terror? And then when it's like, well, what's your problem with white people? And by the way, it's really hard for anybody who's not white to go out to a public place right now without worrying that you're going to round them up and throw them in the back of a van and disappear them to a fucking gulag. That's all
Yeah.
you. So then now they can't have that message because it's like, well, what's wrong with white people? So then what do? Those were not real. This is not real footage. That was actually 2017. You're showing the Women's March. And so
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
easy to say that that's not true. First of all, I was at the Women's March in 2017. It was January. The trees were bare. And so their argument about it
Mm.
not being Boston Common, where I went to college, by the way, in Boston, there wouldn't be trees with leaves in Boston right now in October. Really? Bullshit. And where were the pussy hats if this was
Yeah,
2017?
that's
Or
right.
one of those too. So this is one quote I'm just going to say, like from Maxwell Frost, who was on that live event the other night. He said,
Yeah.
when Republicans are scared of what we are doing, that's when you know you need to go all in. And they're not only scared by what we are doing, because it is the greatest expression of patriotism there is, to peacefully assemble. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to message against it. And that's why little fucking Shitler sitting there in his full diaper at like 4 a.m. Decides to post this stupid video because they can't message anything else. And so they figure, let's just distract them with this
Yeah.
ridiculousness. And that's what they did. And I had another quote from Maxwell Frost today that I wanted to share before we change topics. And I'm sorry for going off, but this one
No.
was so good. He said, when you don't have all this, I wrote it down, but I remember it. When you don't have all the power you want, you have to use all the power you have. And that is going to be a quote that carries me forward from this point
Yeah.
on, because that's exactly where the Democrats are right now. We don't have all the power we want, not even close. So that means we have to use all the power we have. And what's the greatest power we have right now? It is our voices. It is
That's right.
marching. It is 7 million plus people showing up peacefully. Tactical frivolity. That's the power that we have right now. We need to use every ounce of it.
That's right. And we have to carry it forward. We have to sustain this intensity and urgency another year. All the way to November 2026. I got it. I'm ready, because every day I wake up ready to kick down doors.
Yeah.
Not literally, figuratively, people,
Yeah.
figuratively kicking down doors. That's what I'm doing every day. Um
Yeah, real
I,
quick on that, I had the weirdest dream/nightmare last night. I haven't seen all the Hunger Games movies. My daughter binge watched them last year, and I had never
which
seen Hunger Games.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
never
those are
seen them
great.
at all, and I get really scared watching movies and TV shows. I'm not fun to watch them with because I get really scared, and Hunger Games is really scary, and I haven't seen any of it since then. It's scared for me. Signs, like, it has forever traumatized me. Right. So my nightmare dream thing was so weird and so random because I was in the Hunger Games, and I was like a contestant in the Hunger
Were
Games.
you Katniss with the
I
bow?
well, I don't know that I was Katniss, that would be an upgrade, but I was somebody, and I know I had to give a speech. I had to give a speech, like, I had survived the Hunger Games, right? Like, I won, I triumphed, whatever, and so I get up on the stage, but the stage then turned into, God, this is not sun and I feel like I'm losing my mind, and the stage then turned into this scene from Forrest Gump where he's addressing remember, he's addressing Washington and Jenny, and he's in front of the pool, and Jenny goes into the water, she's like, "Forrest, Forrest, Gump!" Right? So then all of a sudden I was Forrest, and all I had to say was one thing. All I had to say was one thing. And I shouted into this microphone and I said, "This is a Republican shutdown." And everybody looked, "Wah!" And then I woke up. But that's sorry,
Yeah.
that's it. That's we have to keep saying that. We have to keep saying that loud and proud and not proud because I'm not proud of it, but we have to keep saying that they own this shutdown.
100% co-sign that. I'm glad you brought that up because the right wing, like one of the worst, for some reason over the past week and a half, my Twitter feed has been just bombarded by right wing content.
Oh,
I
so
don't know
bad.
if they like flipped a switch and like so now every time I go to my home tab or
Yep.
whatever,
Same.
first thing I see is a Benny Johnson tweet, and he's like
Same.
the worst, like the most egregious. He like repeats lies that have been debunked for like months.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, like, anyway, but they are relentless with their lies. So we have to
Mhm.
be as relentless with the truth and not, let's not bitch and complain about it. It is what it is. So let's just go into it like happy warriors
Yeah.
and bring some joy into our work. That's why I'm wearing this crown in my
Yeah.
hot ass room.
Oh my God. And that looks hot. That does look like it would be hot, like
It
until
is
you're
hot.
just not breathing well.
But I did this because yeah, I am like I'm there with you, Joe. I'm there with you like in my hatred for Donald Trump and my hatred for the fact that he's making me hate him, right? I'm there with you, but I'm also joyous about it. I love being able to make fun of him. I love all the memes, all of the nonstop ridicule, the twerking frogs, all of that stuff. We need to
Mhm.
stay there while he's doing shit like dismantling our East Wing. The whole thing, the whole building is now gone. The whole thing, not just part of it, just the whole damn thing. I know you've got feelings about this. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to ugly cry because I'm gonna try really hard.
Just do a pretty
Um,
cry. Do pretty
yeah, I
cry.
don't have a pretty cry, unfortunately. My resting cry face is about as bad as it gets. I mean, it's literally just like, wow, wow, what happened to wow. But I'm gonna try not to. But like, here's the thing. That wasn't just it's not just a building. You and I have had the incredible privilege and honor of being able to walk through those halls. A lot of Americans have. A lot of Americans haven't. A lot of people haven't. We have. Um, and my children have. And you met my kids actually
Right.
outside. We were there at the same time for Christmas decorations. And
Yeah.
there's a there's a there's a sense of an actual heartbeat, right? Um, in that building. And you cannot help but feel history. You cannot help but feel humbled. You cannot help but feel reverence. You cannot help but feel hope. And also a reminder of this like very fragile promise that we have in this country between the people and those in power. And it is that the people in power will not betray us, that they will not come after us, that they will not persecute us, that they will serve us, and that they should expect that we will hold them accountable, and that we will, when they don't serve us, that we will use our power as we the people to remove them from office. Right? That's this fragile promise, and it's it's brick and mortar, and it's glass, and it's grass, and it's tile floors and marble, but it's much, much, much more than that. And to know that somebody like him, this very temporary occupant who has no regard for anything other than what he wants, that he had the ability, which he doesn't actually have, but that he had the desire to tear it down, completely tear it down after lying about it, which shouldn't shock anyone or surprise anyone, but it
Yeah.
just speaks to his pathology, okay? First of all, he had to tear it down because it wasn't about him. He would tear down he would raise the entire White House, the whole thing, if he could. And believe me, I don't necessarily put it past him. We can't suffer from a lack of imagination. But he had to tear it down because it wasn't about him. And this ballroom is about him. And because he is a hollow shell husk of a depraved idiot, evil idiot, right? He knows that he has never earned anything of true merit. He's never accomplished anything of true merit. The legacy he leaves behind is one of ruin, and he knows that. So he misplaces in his fucking feeble little addle-pated Adderall fucked up brain of his, he misplaces legacy for structure, for ostentatious displays of gold and glitter and marble and chandeliers and diamonds. And it's all emptiness. But he's so stupid and so vapid and so empty and hollow that he thinks that that is his legacy. And what he does is he dismantles everything else around him, no matter who it hurts, no matter how poorly it reflects, no matter what it erases or degrades. He doesn't care. It's just like what he did to the Oval Office. It's like pissing fake gold all over the Oval Office because he thinks that gives him value, because he thinks if he surrounds himself with shiny things that people will think that he is important when he's not. And even though he's a narcissist and a sociopath, deep, deep down somewhere in that husk, he knows that he is worthless and that everything he's ever earned in his life has been on somebody else's back or somebody else's dime or because somebody else carried him there. That's it. So he has to destroy. And the last point I'll make, sorry, Brooklyn, because it is very emotional.
Go ahead.
I get angry and then I get very sad because watching these machines, it feels almost as if, I thought about this, it feels like watching a movie of aliens, like alien beings, like some kind of monster from another planetary system coming here and ripping the heart out of our country, out of our soul. It's not just a building. Like they're tearing it down and pulling things out. And if you saw that in a movie about the White House, you would be apoplectic. You would be disgusted. You would be heartbroken. You would be outraged. And yet he's doing it. And the Republicans in Congress, the ones who've cut off their own dicks long, long ago, they are not saying a word other than cry harder, libs. Fuck you. Fuck them. Fuck that. That's not his house. That's our house. And he shouldn't have been able to do that. But here we are.
Yeah. I agree with you 100% with everything you just said. Donald Trump is obsessed with, first of all, he is overcompensating for something, for his deficiencies. He knows he's a garbage person, so he is obsessed with surrounding himself with shiny, beautiful things that he thinks will make people not see the fact that he is an ugly, desperate, dirty person. Um, the pulling down of the building, uh, it was it was meant for us to see that. It was meant to make liberals, Democrats, cry out in anger. That's part of that whole thing I was talking about, the whole cruelty thing. And I almost wonder if it was maybe payback in some way for like all of the Confederate statues that have been pulled down. I'm surprised. You know, you have so many conservatives, so many people who were concernicus about, oh, you're taking down the statue of General Lee. You mean The general who was a traitor against our country, who was fighting to preserve slavery, that guy, you want to keep his statue up? But our very own East Wing, which has so much rich history in it. I know because I was there, you were there. We've seen it, and I'm really sorry for the people who didn't see it. Who even knows what was preserved? Did they take out some of the more valuable museum artifacts, or did they leave it in there just to wholesale destroy those things? It's what was the rush? Why all of a sudden? Why no preparation for this? Why no announcement? Why no oversight? What is the deal with this?
Well,
Caroline Levitt was asked earlier today by Weijia, what is her name? Weijia Yang, I think is her
mhm.
name. She's so good. She stayed on top of Caroline Levitt, asked her, does the president have authority to do demolition without oversight? And she was very precise with her wording. And Caroline Levitt, as she is, tried to dance away from that several times. And at one point she was holding up pictures. See, look at this picture of construction from a different president. She said, I'm not asking about construction. I'm asking about demolition.
Yep.
And she was like, next person. She just completely did not answer the question. So he doesn't have authority for that. But that's why I'm wearing this goddamn crown
Yeah.
and robe as a joke, because he's doing things that he doesn't have the authority to do, but he's claiming
Yeah.
the authority, and he's daring anybody to stop him. And the fact that there's no Republican with the spine to stand up and tell him, no, you cannot just shoot these boats in the middle of international waters without doing any due diligence, without reporting to Congress. Not one, except maybe Rand Paul. Rand Paul is the only one who's like, hey, maybe that's illegal.
Yeah.
As- Aside from that, he is an out of control megalomaniac. And the first step at um, at stopping him is stopping the Republicans in Congress. So we really have to stay energized and focused and get them the fuck out of Congress in 2026, no matter what. We talk to everybody we can about the high prices and the hamburger helper and the farmers and the $40 billion that he's able to find for Argentina, but can't find that money to keep SNAP benefits going for needy Americans.
Y- n- So much to talk about there. And you're right, 100% about all of it. And by the way, Levitt was also asked today about the ballroom. And she said, at this moment in time, the ballroom is really the president's main priority.
Number
Main
one. Yeah.
priority. Main priority. The government of the United States of America is shut down. There are
Hmm.
federal workers who are not being paid, who are taking out loans as we speak, just to cover each pay period. There
Yeah.
are federal workers who do not know if they're going to be able to pay their rent, their mortgages, pay for their food, their utilities, etc. Um, Prices on groceries are already skyrocketing. We all know that. We all know that. My electric bill, I talk about this a lot. My electric bill tripled in the span of 1 month
Yeah.
after I stopped using air conditioning, which again, like that's
That makes
crazy.
no sense.
No, we know that we have disproportionately impacted veterans and members of our military right now with all
Yeah.
of these cuts and with this shutdown. Um, Inflation is up, GDP is down, manufacturing jobs are down, wage growth stagnating. Our cattle ranchers are struggling. He's talking about bailing them out, which is not at all bailing them out, lowering the price of beef by doing what? Purchasing beef,
Argentinian beef.
which is poison in some
Wait, is it really?
cases. They don't have any standards, right? And if they do, they're not American. They're not USDA standards. But
Hey, at
that
least we
only
got RFK Jr. to look. Oh,
right.
no.
So that only hurts our cattle ranchers when we've already decimated our soybean farms. So all of this, Americans are hurting. Everything is more expensive in the midst of all of this on November 1st. A lot of folks are going to be in a lot more pain than they already are because a lot of these nutritional assistance benefits expire and a lot of these subsidies from Obamacare expire. And so a lot of Americans who are already paying too much for everything are either going to choose not to buy the things or have the things or have health care, et cetera. That's going to happen. And when that does, it makes everything more expensive for everyone. Because if you think that the $9 billion in revenue that comes from SNAP and WIC, the people who are responsible, the grocers and the manufacturers and the farmers, that they're not going to need to recover that somehow, what they're going to do is they're going to raise prices on everyone. Sorry. Yeah. It's one of those Halloween fabrics that never breathes. All of us are going to be paying more, even if you never needed WIC, even if you've never needed SNAP, even if you've never needed an ACA subsidy. Everything for everyone in this country is going to get much, much harder very, very quickly. And what is his main priority? What did he just say via his spokesperson? A ballroom that's going to cost 300 million,
which is originally supposed to be only 200 million.
Right. And what is he doing and how is he justifying this? How is he justifying all of this?
Who's paying for it?
That's the thing. That's the part. This is a guy who's infamous for money laundering. He's been connected to the mob and the Russian mafia for his entire life. You think that bitch is not a money laundering scheme? And that's the predicate on which he is saying, because it wasn't congressionally funded, it didn't require congressional oversight. That's bullshit, first of all. And you always say this, and I say this now, I've stolen it from you 100 times. He didn't measure twice and cut once. He just fucking cut. There was never any measuring. And the whole thing is about corruption. It's about lining his pockets and his family's pockets and his rich friends' pockets, while the rest of us suffer. It is let them eat cake on crack. And any voter out there, I don't care if there's an I or an R or a D next to your name, if you've never voted in your life, you know what's up right now. You know what it costs to go to the grocery store. You know how much harder life has already become. And you know that it is attributable to Donald Trump and the feckless cronies who do his bidding and have gelded themselves to the point where they're fucking eunuchs now who walk around with no power. This is why he has the lowest approval rating on the economy of any president ever in their second term ever. Wow. That's why. Really? And we need to drive that message home because people are feeling this and it's just going to get worse. But the ballroom is your fucking priority? Give me a break.
I feel like I've asked you this before. Have you ever seen The Walking Dead?
I don't like zombies. Shaun of the Dead is like the closest thing I've come to that. I don't like zombies.
My sister got me into watching that show. And ironically, she didn't even watch the whole thing. She watched 3 seasons and then she was out. But I watched the whole thing. And here was the thing I thought was, why watch this yet another thing about zombies? They walk with slow brains. But the interesting thing about the show was that the bad guy in this was not the zombies, right? The bad guy were the humans.
Oh.
And the humans were what made this thing scary. It wasn't so much the zombies. Yeah, it was gross when they would slowly. How do you get caught by these things? The bones are barely hanging together and they're moving like molasses. How do you get caught by? I would get caught. I can smell you coming. Anyway, it was the human beings, because you expect in a time of crisis, when we are faced with a threat like the living dead walking amongst us, that we can kind of, come together. We can galvanize and let's operate as one. But no, you had human beings stealing from each other, killing each other, holding people hostage. Human beings. You're like, we're not working together against the zombies. We're doing this. So the point that I'm making is that Donald Trump, in this analogy, is the zombie, right? Now, not to say that he is not a threat. He is a threat. But the people who are worse than this threat are the people who know better, who should know better, right?
Mhm.
They're the Republicans who are standing around with their hands in their pockets, allowing this to happen. They're the people who are in the media, the press, who give him the benefit of the doubt when he says things like, "Oh, I'm going to be paying for this and private donors," without a follow up. Who the fuck is paying for it? Give us some names. You know, you have a job. You're the few people that we depend upon to get the information. You have access to get that information. What are you doing with that access? You're just doing stenography. You're just taking dictation from this
Mhm.
guy. Huh?
Mhm.
Do your fucking job. They're the worst
Oh.
because they're helping, they're enabling this guy. They're helping to spread. The president said today, fuck what the president said today. You start off with the president lied about several things today. Here were some of them. Let's start from that as being the baseline because you can't trust anything he said. He's lied about President Obama being African. You know, he wasn't born here. He was born in Africa. He's lied about the call between him and Zelensky being a perfect call. He's lied about President Biden not winning the 2020 election. That is the big lie. And
Mhm.
on and on and on 30,000 times. Why does anybody believe what the hell this guy has to say? It's beyond me. So, yeah, those are the people who would be the bad guys in The Walking Dead, the one that lets you get caught by the zombie.
Yeah. Well, I used to ask at the end of every podcast, I should get back to this. How long would you last in a zombie apocalypse? I've gotten some very funny answers and some very revealing answers. Rick Wilson was like, I'd last forever. And then Trey Crowder's like, I'd be out in like a second. He's like, I'm a comedian. He's like, I can't whittle like a piece of wood into like a weapon. He's like, it's game over for me. I just hand myself in and be like, fine, take me. I know I would last long. I'd be like, oh God, it's a zombie until the zombie was literally eating my face. But you're absolutely
You're a
right about.
mama. You're a
Well,
mama. You would
oh,
last.
that's different. I would have my kids like I would have built an underground shelter in like 4 seconds with my teeth to protect my kids. Like I would like, honestly, but then I would of course be like every idiot in every movie with a slasher that goes first. That would be me. Like I'd be trying to call the police as the zombies like coming up. But you made a lot of really good points, and the press is one of them that I want to pick on first, or talk about first, or whatever, because this is easy. This shit's easy. Donald Trump, in his own words, said, I will not touch the existing structure of the White House. It's my favorite. Those are his words.
Wait. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but he hated that White House. I remember it was like years ago. He said he hated it.
It's old.
Yeah.
It's not glittery and gold enough. Melania won't even go there. Like it's look, you and I've been there. Again, it's not everybody's taste. It's stuffy, right? Like it's like old Americana. Like it's like
Yeah.
if you've ever been to Epcot and you did the American exhibit and you got to sit in that movie that everybody goes in when it's hot and you want to fall asleep. It's kind of like that, but you love it because it's America and because before, as I described, it's the heartbeat of this country, and it's a reminder, and it's also there's a lot of reverence and history. Just think about all the fucking things that have happened in that building that have shaped world history.
Yeah.
That shaped
Yeah.
our lives, our existences. But no, he never liked it. So see, but here's the thing. Again, there's always a tell. He also said the Bible was his favorite. Second favorite book is his. The Bible.
Let's one
Not one.
verse.
Not one verse. His favorite book. That was his favorite house. Because that's a normal thing for a fucking grown man to say. It's my favorite. So hi press. I'm just a mom who lives in the suburbs and is terminally online and absorbs a lot of information. And I know if he said that, and if he said what he said yesterday, yeah, reporters weren't paying attention. When Jonathan Carl again said, you didn't say you were tearing down the entire East Wing. What do you say to people who ask why you're tearing down the entire East Wing? What do you say? I said I was tearing down the entire East Wing. You just didn't pay attention. You weren't paying attention. You didn't do your due diligence as reporters. That's a lie. So if I'm Jonathan Carl, who I respect, if I'm any other reporter in that fucking room, what do I say? Well, that's funny. Hold on. Let me find it. Play the clip. You
Yeah.
said this in the summer. You're telling us we didn't do our due diligence when you said the opposite a few months ago. And what is he going to say? Fake news. He'll say fake news, but at least you have a follow-up where the American people have an opportunity to hear him being challenged on the lies that he's telling. Instead of
Yeah.
rolling over and moving on to the next question, stop it. Snap out of it. Like, I want to be Cher right now and I want to slap you across your faces. Like, come on, you have one job. You're like the Giants kicker. If you can't do your fucking job, you need to be fired. If you can't
Yeah.
make a fucking extra point, you need to go. Go be a greeter at Walmart. Go change urinal cakes in the Oklahoman Panhandle and truck stops. I don't care what you do. This isn't your calling. Okay, pick something else. Did you know,
Yeah.
by the way, now that they basically forced all of the press corps out of the Pentagon, guess who's going into the Pentagon
Oh,
press corps?
I just saw that. A whole bunch of right wing. Oh, wait. Lindell TV?
And InfoWars.
Lindell TV. Infowars too?
Yes,
Come
Lindell
on.
TV, which is like an oxymoron, right? Like, and InfoWars. So, look, I appreciate that
It's
we
a
still
joke.
have, right? But like, we
It's a
still
joke.
have
Yeah.
maybe a tiny bit of legitimate press in some of these rooms. But if they're there and they're not going to do their job, then what's the point? Then just cede the space. Just walk away and stop covering him. Stop legitimizing him. Stop normalizing him. Just say on the news, this is what happened. We're going to report on it truthfully. Period.
This is the thing. How is Hegseth not? How is Pete Hegseth not completely humiliated right now? Like, if he takes what he's doing seriously, he must not. How is he not completely humiliated to march that group of fake? That's the definition of fake news.
Oh, God, yeah.
Infowars, Lindell TV.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is atrocious.
That's the goal, though, right? Like, that's the goal. And by the way, he's probably too drunk to be ashamed. He's probably trying to, like, I don't answer his glasses right now because he thinks it's a phone. Like, he's probably too dangerous. Like, let's be honest. I mean, that guy. But when he's not drunk, he's doing some kind of photo op of himself doing something that, like, push-ups or in an airplane or whatever. Like, they're all cosplaying. It's ridiculous. Christy Noem, etc. But like,
No
I don't.
fatties and no beardos.
Meanwhile, you saw what's happening with ICE. That like most of them can't pass these very like basic physical fitness tests, so they're lowering the
Really?
standards for ICE. Yeah, so because they're like, oh shit, this mall cop. No offense to mall cops. This mall cop, this guy who worked at the personal fan kiosk at the Rockaway Town Square Mall, he can't run a mile in less than 20 minutes. Like, we need to lower the standards. So they are lowering the physical standards. This same people who are talking about raising the physical standards for our military, the one that is helmed by a melted circus peanut who is a 5-time draft dodger who can't even walk straight. Yeah, no, they're lowering the physical standards for ICE because.
Well, that makes sense because did you see that video of the dude on the bike and the Meal Team 6 trying to catch him?
That was great.
Oh, it's
So
too
good.
too funny. Too
I
funny.
also think real fast, Brooklyn, that when you asked about what was the hurry and why they didn't even really bother with planning or congressional oversight, I think that I learned this expression recently, and maybe you've heard it, and maybe other people in the chat have heard it. I confess it was new to it. And it's the dead cat theory. Do you know this theory? So I guess
No.
it's an Australian kind of idea, but it was adopted by Boris Johnson in England whenever he would have a scandal about being drunk or something like that. And the idea is that when like things are going very badly and you're in the center of some kind of tempest, that you take a dead cat, you plop it down on the table. Now everybody's talking about the dead cat. They're
Oh
not
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about all the other things, right? So that's what I think a lot of this is. I think that stupid video, and I think that this urgency to tear down history that they knew would be shocking and get a lot of attention is this idea of this dead cat. Like, because what they're really trying to distract us from is
So they've got a room full of dead cats,
they have
basically,
a
because
room full of
every
dead
week
cats.
there's 5 dead cats.
They're just that's it's like Steve Bannon meets the dead cat strategy, right? So flood the zone with dead cats. Let's just put it that way. That's one way to combine them. And they're trying. That's it, Pete. They're trying to distract us from two
Yeah.
things. Epstein and the fact that Republicans and Donald Trump are failing, but not even failing. It's worse than failing. They don't want to help the American people. It's Project 2025 being enacted right before our very eyes, but it's Epstein. Epstein, 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 Epstein. And whatever is in those files about Donald Trump, which I'm increasingly beginning to think was more than even I could have
Oh, way
speculated.
more. It's
Yeah.
way, way more. Yeah.
He's willing to tear down our White House and get that outrage, that dead cat, out there into the universe. They're willing to do that. I honestly believe this. So that we will be more outraged about that, and we will lose sight of the Epstein files that have gotten an entire prince excommunicated from his family. And
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I think part of the hurry was to distract from the No Kings protests, deflate that story, and to continue in their endless crusade to distract us from a storm they know is coming. They know. They cannot stop it. It's coming. You can't, what are they going to keep? Are they going to keep the United States government shut down forever? Some of this is going to get out, and they know it.
I'm worried that what they are doing is like redacting every single Republican person out of those files and only leaving Democrats in there. That's it. That's what I think all of this is stalling.
Yeah, you might be
This
right.
because eventually they are going to have to open up the House again. And the minute they open up the House, here comes that vote. And um, unless some people on the Democratic side, resign or fall ill or whatever, and the Democrats lose votes, um, unless that happens, those files will be um, on the docket to be released. And then what? Then they have no more excuses, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to prolong this as long as possible because, again, even Marjorie Taylor Greene is like, just use the nuclear option on this one thing and then bada bing, bada boom, right? That
Yep.
makes sense to me. That's an easy solution. That's what they were saying. President Biden should do about the border. Just unilaterally close it. Don't worry about legislation from Congress. Just close the border and be done with it. But he didn't
Mhm.
do that, and then they ran on that, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But yeah, my concern is that they are doing something devious to cover their asses on the Epstein files. And then eventually they're going to be like, all right, you want to see it? Fine, here. And that'll be their newly redacted, bizarro form of the Epstein files.
Yeah. I I hope that that's not the. I know that they are going through and redacting and removing his name being mentioned. I know that his own DOJ confirmed this, right? Like the Wall Street Journal. I I just had this feeling, and I'll tell you what, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for all her scorn, she is a woman scorned because he wouldn't endorse her for Senate, and he would not let her. He told her, from what I understand from inside sources, that he said, "You, if you run for Senate, I'm not going to endorse you," and that she's going scorched earth now, which is, well, I don't blame her at all. But I would say this: Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to me like a bellwether for something that if I were Donald Trump, I would be worried about. Thomas Massie too. I think they know things that they know things that he can't hide from. I think that that is part
From the
of,
files, I mean?
or in just the reality of what happened, right? So whatever information, we've already gotten some information. Remember, that's the House already had some new information
Yeah.
about Donald Trump as it pertained to and these files and other sources of information.
You
Um,
mean like the birthday card and the
that
pictures and stuff?
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
that was the Wall Street Journal's reporting as well. But I think that some people, and I think that this Prince Andrew thing also tells me that whatever is coming is something that a lot of people cannot stop and they cannot redact or remove enough of, that they will be walking away without being ruined. Maybe that's my naivete. Maybe that's me hoping, which sounds like so messed up to say that about pedophilia, about predators. But I don't disagree with you that there is probably a strong case to be made for this being about them buying themselves time. He could also be trying to buy himself time because he knows he's up against the TikTok biological clock because
Mm.
Dark Hands is not doing well. I am increasingly convinced, maybe I'm wrong. People are saying he's having strokes. That's possible. I think it's one of those uh, devices that pumps blood through his body and shit. Like I was watching him today, and there are these weird bumps in the sides of his hips that don't look like hips; they look like boxes. And then I've seen him lurching, and this side of his shoulder looks
Oh, that
weirdly
could be diaper,
square.
though.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard a lot of things where people who are nurses and doctors have speculated about different things. I think what we can say is that he's not doing well physically, and I know that other people have told me in the past, as early as 2017, that he was talking about issues with his heart off the record. I'll just leave that out there. So maybe it's a race against the clock because he knows he's not long for this world, and maybe that's again just something that I'm trying to manifest, but I'm not because I don't wish that on anyone, although I hate him, as I said. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, I something is telling me that they know that they cannot run from this forever. This is what why would Prince Andrew have to leave, completely leave suddenly, like not suddenly,
Yeah.
the royal family, and why is
We've
Marjorie
known
Taylor
about
Greene?
Prince Andrew since, I
Yeah,
want to say 2019?
right. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like all of a sudden, the royal family was like, we need accountability now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I would say also that the thing that keeps telling me that something is so insidious in there that he is willing to do the most unpopular, awful things to distract people from talking about it. Like, I think he's going to pardon Diddy or commute a sentence. I think that he's going to do the same thing with Ghislaine. And I think it's just going to be the next dead cat and the next dead cat and the next dead cat until, Dark Hands succumbs to the powers that be. I don't know. I don't know. That's just something I think about.
It's remarkable to me as much heyday, as much noise as MAGA was making about these Epstein files, that ever since it became credible that not only that he's in the files, but that he is heavily, heavily, heavily implicated in those files, they've kind of they've kind of Homer Simpsoned, you know, that whole
Yeah.
backed into the bushes.
Yeah.
Wait, they like stopped. Have you noticed that? They used
Yeah.
to be all about when they thought it was just Bill Clinton and some rando Democrats. They were like, get those Epstein files out now. And now they're quiet as church mice.
Hmm.
That's interesting. It's
Yeah.
very interesting to me.
They don't wanna know, right? Like, yeah, so and maybe really, it was just about exposing the people they didn't like, but right, at the end of the day, they don't wanna know that it's their own, which, I mean, every sign has been pointing in this direction
Yeah,
forever. I mean, like, if you didn't know that he was implicated in these things, he was his best friend for, like, more than a decade. But
yeah.
what I would say, honestly, at the end of the day, when I this is the part where I really think about this a lot. I think about the fact that the Carolyn Levitts and the Mike Johnsons and every congressional member, a Republican member of Congress, Pam Bondi, Cash
Oh,
Patel,
wait, time out. I'm sorry. When you said the Caroline Levitt thing, we didn't get to talk about her saying your mom.
oh
And like to me, that was just like, really? Like, what are we in high school? We in middle school? That's a middle school response. The dude was asking a question. I don't even remember what the hell the question. Oh wait, who chose
yeah,
the site of Budapest? And because the significance was that was where Ukraine disarmed, and they disarmed with the promise of being protected from any nuclear threats by us, right? Um, and so who picked the that site? And it wasn't like a verbal thing. They weren't on the phone. He texted it to her. So she had time to formulate, you know, a response to anything. She could have said anything. She could have said, "Hey, look, take a look at this. What do you think?" She could have chat GPT'd it. Give me a good response for this that's not snarky and stupid. But instead, she went with your mom. And I'm like, wow, really? It's just that
mhm.
how low the bar is right now for what's acceptable as A press secretary for the President of the United States of America? How could she even show her face in that press room?
Well, and another member of the administration, I think a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security or something, said it again yesterday or the day before as well. Said that was the answer, was your mom. But it speaks to the fact that they don't have the capacity for shame. They just don't. And I say this a lot, but the mob expression that the fish rots from the head down, right? This is systemic. This is institutionalized. This is who they are. They don't care. They literally don't care. And if you've ever
Yeah.
worked at a really toxic job, I had one job where it was horrible and everyone was horrible to each other and they were horrible to others. And what happens is the culture becomes such so that the horrible behavior is just how people act. It's just what is expected. And then nobody is calling any of it out. Nobody is addressing it. Nobody's talking about it. They just start feeding into it too. And it consumes you. And that's what Donald Trump has always done. According to James Comey, he consumes your soul in little bites until there's nothing left. And that's what everyone in his orbit at this point, that's what's happened to them. So for Carolyn Levitt, I often think about her baby, right? I often think about, as a mom, like what I would want my children to look at when they're looking at what I did when they were young, what I said when they were young, what I modeled for them in real time. Carolyn Levitt is modeling someone who says that, right? But also, this is the thing I was going to say before. They're toddlers. They're petulant. They're defending his video of him dropping shit on the American people. But I want the Carolyn Levitts of the world. I want the Marco Rubios of the world, the J.D. Vances of the world, the Pam Bondis, Kash Patels, Bingo Bongo. I want those people. I want them held accountable for what they enable, what they have empowered, what they have emboldened, what they have institutionalized, what they have ingrained as the culture in his world. Because it's not him alone. If he existed by himself and didn't infect everyone around him, he wouldn't be able to do the things that he's doing. But they have to be complicit. And they're
Yeah.
the ones. Honestly, I don't expect him to ever learn a lesson. I don't expect Donald Trump to ever really truly accept that he did wrong. But on some level, I think of Carolyn Levitt, when you say to her, and by the way, of all the press secretaries, she is hands down the worst that we've ever had. But I think on some
Worse
level,
than Ari Fleischer.
worse
I remember him.
than Secretary of Scotch and Soda Stephanie Grisham, who didn't even do her job. Worse than Sarah Huckabee's Lazy Eye Sanders. No
Yep.
offense to Lazy Eyes, it's not their fault. But she's horrible. But I bet
Yeah.
you, if like with the Nuremberg trials, where you had people who participated apologizing, not that you can trying to make amends, acknowledging their role in evil, that Carolyn Levitt, when faced with the receipts of what she allowed, what she emboldened, standing there next to someone she fucking knows was in those Epstein files, the mother of a small child still running cover. I want that day. I want that day where people like her have to face the receipts of what they have done. That's what I want. So she can say your mom all day long because she's running from her own reality. She's running from what she's empowering. She's running from what she's legitimizing because she doesn't want to face it, because it's dark and it's ugly. And every child in this country deserves somebody who says no, and she can't. So I want that day. I want those people held accountable. I will line up in President Newsom's ballroom turned courtroom to watch Carolyn Levitt and Marco Rubio and whoever that weird guy is who announces things in the White House like he's Dwight Schrute on crack. I want all of them lined up and answering to the American people and answering to justice. That's what I want. President AOC. I don't care who it is.
Do you picture a Nuremberg trial kind of thing happening down the road?
We need that.
I don't see it. I don't see it, frankly. I mean, it would require, first of all, it would require a major turnover in Congress, right? Congress would have to be involved with this sort of thing, right? Which would mean we would need to have like a supermajority in both the House and in the Senate, I think, in order to make this go through. I'm not saying it's impossible, I feel like we need for that to happen. I feel like this shit cannot be allowed to happen again because we are teetering on the edge of losing our democracy right now. Of this guy, we're like one, press conference away from him declaring martial law, basically. One Molotov cocktail thrown by a right wing provocateur into the middle of a peaceful demonstration going crazy. I don't know if you've seen these screenshots on News Nation or Newsmax that show Portland, bunch of smoke and bunch of people wearing tactical gear, but you can't make heads or tail out of what's happening, right? And they don't show any date on what that is, but they're running that on loop as propaganda. Look what's happening in Portland. Meanwhile, in Portland, what's happening when you see during the day is frogs twerking and dinosaurs rolling around. So I'm so glad there was no violence on Saturday, no King's Day. I applaud everybody who went out there and was focused and was disciplined enough to avoid the bullshit. But the fact remains that he is still sending ICE and National Guard out there not to address crime, but to provoke. That's what they're doing. They're grabbing mothers and they're grabbing daughters and sons and grandpas, abuelas and abuelos, and they're getting people riled up and anxious and angry. So I just hope that we can continue to be disciplined and not let this shit escalate into something that we can never come back from.
No, I agree with you 100%. He always says the quiet part out loud because he doesn't have a filter. He doesn't have a frontal lobe of any identifiable kind. And he keeps talking about the Insurrection Act, the ironic usage of the Insurrection Act after he sat there in the White House and watched
Yeah.
what happened on January 6th unfold when he could have and had the authority to call the National Guard to come and didn't. The fact that that actual insurrection did not reach the level, of course it didn't because it was what he wanted, where he needed to call the National Guard, but a bunch of frogs twerking with unicorns in Portland, a bunch of naked cyclists with their nuts hanging out, that reaches the level. It's one of my favorite things in the world. I'm just imagining those snipers. Like I'm just imagining like their scopes. They're like, I got testes. Like, oh, I got a big areola. I could just, like, what are we doing? What are we talking about? Like, that's the
Yeah.
gaslighting. And you're exactly right. We know this. We know what they're doing. They tell us. I was interviewing Randy Weingarten today, and she has a book about fascism and education and teachers out right now. And she said, what's different about this authoritarian overreach is that unlike others in the past who denied what they were doing and pretended that it wasn't happening and did it in the shadows, this administration does it out in the open and they brag about it. They always tell us what they're doing. And that is what they are doing right now when they say that the No Kings protests are going to be violent and Hamas and terrorists, and then they're not, because they were hoping they would be. They were hoping beyond hope that there would be rogue actors, that we would be engaging in acts of violence, so that they could justify further cracking down on our ability to exercise our rights. That's what they want. They want a false, pretext for being able to grab more power. And we can't give it to them, which is why, again, back to Ezra Levin's, laughtivism, back to Eliza Orland's talking about tactical frivolity. That's the path. That's the antidote. And honestly, seeing 7+ million people understanding the assignment, that gives me so much hope. And it's also why we can't take our foot off the gas, because that's why they fear it so much. And that's also why they don't know how to message about it, because they know that it's the greatest threat to them that there is. They know that we don't have power, the kind of power we want. And they know the power, but they know the power that we do have, and they know that they're losing on this front, and that we are gaining ground and we're gaining more people. I don't know if you know if it's happened for you, but in my life, my peer groups, my friends, my family, I have a lot of people in my life who don't pay attention to politics. They never have. They are not political. They kind of see a cartoon that they like and they'll send it, but they're really not engaged. I know so many people who've been like that, as long as I've known them, who showed up for those protests. This tells me that something is happening that is much bigger than anything that they expected in terms of a response, and it's why that's the course, it's why that's the path through, and it's why they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, my extended family, my cousins, aunts and uncles, they're very they're very political. And I didn't realize that they were that political until like I had only seen them like I'd gone like 25 years without seeing any of them because at one point, half of the family moved to the moved down south, and the other half moved to the West Coast. And then there was an anniversary that I attended like a few months ago. And when I walk into the room, everybody's like, "Hey, Brooklyn Dad!"
Yeah, that's funny.
And yeah, and people were like, they're riled up. So my extended family, very devout Muslim family, very devout. But they're also highly engaged too,
Yeah.
and they're sharing their memes, and they're talking about politics and what we need to do to get Donald Trump out of office, et cetera, et cetera. So um, it is encouraging to see people um, engaged in the process. I would love to ask our audience. Um, Last year, we've talked about this before. Last year, during Kamala Harris's campaign, the word weird appeared, and it was extremely effective. It drew blood. That
Mhm.
word, weird, made uh made the GOP cry uncle. They're like, stop calling us weird.
Mhm.
They hated it. It was effective, and for some reason, we went away from it. But
Yeah.
it's still there. The weird thing is still there. So I would love to see I would love to see us get back to that. But B, more important, what are some other words and other attacks we can use along the same lines that can be as effective so we can start hitting them with different kinds of ammunition, and again, when I say ammunition, I'm saying that figuratively, not literally. And I have to
Yeah.
say that, unfortunately, because they say, oh, the rhetoric is blah, 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 blah. I don't mean violent. I mean like words. We're all about the words. Use your words, people. So
Yeah, no, weird. I think we should just go back to weird. I also think that they are extremely triggered by the no kings phrasing. I think that that's why they keep saying, "Oh, if you had a king, he would have been shooting you in the streets. Consider say thank you for not being shot in the streets." They don't like being called Nazis either. It's funny. I've seen several people now threaten that one of the girls from I've Had It. I think Jennifer, is that her name? From the I've Had It podcast. She went on this diatribe about Stephen Miller being a Nazi, and
Mhm.
Mike Lee and all these other prominent assholes have been like, well, Stephen Miller should sue her ass off. And it's like, where's the lie? And so they don't like Nazi, right? They don't like being called what they are. They don't like being
Yeah,
called fascist. They're trying to make the word fascist ever since Charlie Kirk was killed. They're trying to weaponize the word fascist into being
yeah,
a slur. Well, stop being a fascist if you don't want to be called a fucking fascist. Stop acting like a king if you don't want us to call you a fucking king. Hey, Steve Miller. Hey, Nosferatu. Stop crawling out of the fucking toxic, fetid sludge pool in the parking lot of a nuclear waste facility in the shady corner by the dumpster. Stop being a fucking Nazi if you don't want us to call
yeah,
you a fucking Nazi. Like, what weird? It honestly, weird covers it all, and they don't like it. Call JD Vance a couch fucker. He doesn't like it. He, the motherfucker, he can't order a donut without looking like a weirdo. And if you guys never
yeah.
saw Hallie Joel Osment do JD Vance ordering a donut on Jimmy Kimmel, find it. It is very, very funny. Brooklyn, I will send it to you. It is
Okay.
hilarious because you guys remember when JD Vance went to get a donut and the lady
Yeah.
behind the counter said, "What would you like?" And he said, "Whatever makes sense." Friends, friends, we've all ordered donuts. We've all been to a donut shop. I don't care if it's like Duck Donuts or Dunkin' Donuts or mom and pop donuts. We've all ordered donuts. What who on the planet orders donuts and says whatever makes sense? No.
That was so funny. I remember when that happened. That happened when we were at the DNC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I just remember it being so bizarre. I was like, what the fuck is even happening? Homeboy cannot order a donut?
It's like, is this how you human? Hello, donut salesperson. And then he's like, how long have you worked here?
Yeah.
And so you got to find this because it's on Kimmel, and it is. I mean, it's the I See Dead People kid all grown up playing JD Vance, and I've seen like there was a picture of JD Vance around the same time holding a six pack, and like nobody holds he it looked like he had never seen a six pack, let alone held a six pack. It was like he was like a football. Like it was so hard to explain. Like he didn't know if you should drink it or throw it or fuck it. I don't know. He didn't know what to do. How a human being holds a six pack, and that's the thing. Like that's what we need to lean in on. If you think that Kash Patel, who literally looks like he just smelled his own farts 24/7 and isn't sure if he likes it, like if you can't make fun of him and Dan Bingo Bongo for crying about how hard his workday is, if you can't call them weird, if you can't call Stephen Miller weird, Christine Noam is a
Yeah.
weird chick, guys. They
Yeah.
are all weird. Call them weird. You don't brag about killing your dog unless you're freaking weird. They're
Yeah.
weird. And they worship a guy who looks like an Oompa Loompa returning from a night out, where I don't know, he was in a circle jerk with Matt Gaetz and Matthew, whatever his name is, Cawthorn. What was that guy's name? The congressman from North Carolina who had the butt plug, Madison Cawthorn. Yeah. Remember
Oh.
him?
Yeah.
They are. They're
Yeah.
weird. Call them weird. Let's call them weird. They're weird. Not weird in a good way. Not the eccentric weird. Not the quirky weird. Not the fun, free weird. They're like, what is on your internet search history weird?
I am most concerned after Donald Trump. I am most concerned about JD Vance. That dude irritates the crap out of me just because his ability to lie um, with complete confidence is matched only by Mike Johnson and Caroline Levitt. Like, and he is next in line. And he will look right into the camera and lie to you with no fear, with no compunction whatsoever. Um, and he said last year, like, yeah, I'll make up stories so that people will pay attention. Like, how is nobody paying attention to shit like that? Like, you can't trust a thing out of this dude's mouth. And I've seen reporters like corner him, and he still manages to scurry away, from having to be held accountable for his lies.
I mean, everything about JD Vance is predicated on a lie. I mean, this is someone who called Donald Trump Hitler. Like, we have his own words. I'm sorry, but Donald Trump didn't all of a sudden have an epiphany where he became some kind of moral crusader for justice in the time between when JD Vance called him Hitler and when the time between JD Vance decided that he was going to be his vice president. Donald Trump didn't change for the better. You can't have a position on Donald Trump that he is America's Hitler and then have a coming to Jesus moment where you decide that it's the opposite and he said these words.
That's a
I
big
want
swing.
That's a big swing. That's a big swing. His words recently were that when he decided, this is so telling, to run for vice president, he did it. I swear
Who
to God,
runs for vice president?
he does. Yeah, this is the kind of guy that fucks couches. But he also said he did so because first and foremost, he wanted to serve Donald Trump. So
Yeah,
that's one hell of a
sudden. Yeah.
swing. That
He didn't
is
want to serve America.
no Donald
He wanted
Trump.
to serve Donald Trump. Yeah.
Right. And this is someone because if you ask me the origin story of all of this, and I will say this until I die, is that these are broken human beings who have never reconciled or acknowledged the trauma that has been inflicted upon them by people in positions of influence and power when they should have been coddled and cared for and nurtured and valued and loved and cuddled and legitimized. And none of those things happened. So from a very early age, for so many of these people, the messages they got were that they didn't have any value and that what they didn't matter, and that earning love and trust and respect and treating other people that way wasn't important. And I think because they never healed these wounds, that they have decided instead of paying forward some, like, hopeful message that they want to inflict upon others the pain that they have known so that everyone else can experience it too, because they don't have the capacity for joy. Donald Trump doesn't have a heart that it can experience happiness. I don't think JD Vance does either. Maybe he once tried to, but I think that you cannot possibly be the kind of perpetually depraved, cruel, evil. To your point about your new Substack, The King of Cruelty, you cannot be that kind of person. You cannot want the worst things for people, suffering for people. You can't take glee in watching Americans sad because their house was torn down unless something is fundamentally broken
Yeah.
inside of you in such a way that, and we all have trauma. Everyone has something that they have to deal with that has haunted them or they have to confront. And instead of confronting it, they let it metastasize. And Stephen Miller, right? Like when it metastasizes to the point that it has in all of these people, Hegseth, Kristi Noem, you see what you see on display now. And I think that at the end of the day, that makes a strong argument for mental health, for taking care of yourself, for checking in with yourself, for addressing your trauma, for going there because it's hard. But the alternative is so dark. And if you put these people in positions of power, all they want is to inflict that kind of suffering on others. And you can feel that trauma being inflicted on our country in every one of these snatchings of human beings, in every one of these propaganda videos of children being zip
Every
tied.
day.
Every day, you can
Yeah.
feel that, right? And also in the physical dismantlement and destruction of the East Wing of the White House. It is a physical manifestation and representation of exactly what I'm talking about. They want to rip the hearts and souls out of this country because they don't have the capacity to feel any of that. So no one else should.
Yeah. Um, Joe, I gotta run, but
Yeah.
I want to remind our viewers that it is of utmost importance to take care of yourself. Self-care above all else, right? If you're on a plane and the plane is going down, you got to put the oxygen on your face before you put it on your kid's face, because you got to be able to take care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else. So I say that to say this. A lot of this stuff feels overwhelming, right?
Mhm.
A lot of it feels like, oh my God, what can possibly happen next? We're gonna get through this. I promise you, we are gonna get through this together. Let's make a pact. Let's be a support system for each other online too, right? I have people who like reply to my tweets every single time, and I see them, and we're like a fraternity. And sometimes when people come at me and I'm like I'm too exhausted to refute the nonsense, I have them cover my light work. And it's nice when you have somebody that you can rely on. I know I can rely on you, Joe, and you know I got your back too. So
Yep. Yeah.
um
Exactly. And the Substack community, this is so important to me. I know it's important to you, Brooklyn. This is something that I am every day uplifted by, supported by, inspired by, determined to do my best for. When I'm at my lowest and my darkest, I go into my Substack comments and I feel like the warmest hug. And I will ugly cry if I keep talking about this because it's true. But anyway, so we love you guys. See, there it is. Ugly cry. Thank you, Brooklyn. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna go write an essay about how much I hate Donald Trump.
love it.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll see. And I don't have heat yet. Yay!
Oh man, I hope
See
you
you guys.
get that taken care of.
Yeah, no heat, no hot water. See you guys next time. Bye, Brooke.